about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. Ooh. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. Beloved soul family. Good morning from Australia. I'm Geeia Ariati of Sound Heart and Sound Mind. Hopefully, with our juicy sexiness, the water that is dripping down outside will not affect the audio. So please let me know if it does. Let me know how it flows. Juicy? It's gonna be juicy. Oh, so many layers of juicy. So many layers of juicy. So many. So, buckle up because we are talking about sex, purification, contracts, agreements, DNA mimicking. We are going to be speaking into the levels of distortions through codes exchange and the ideas that there's some interesting ideas in spirituality around exchanging through sexual alchemy, what that means, and I'm going to give you the purified expression of the Baraka process, which is the ancient Egyptian expression of purifying the vessel into a place of transcendent experience where you can receive source energy through you and effortlessly be an expression of your unique being in physical form. So, where do I begin? That would be some really great guidance. Basically, the reason that I'm bringing this up is because most of last year I spent in the purification of my root. The beginning of last year was the purification of my root chakra, and through that purification dropped in some very strong solid awarenesses around 3D and 5D sexuality and the differences, as well as the awarenesses around distortions of sexuality and the awarenesses of distortions around spiritual expressions of sexual alchemy, and the solidification of what is required for our physical vessels to actually cleanse, clear, and purify all of the ancestral trauma, the levels of distortion within our consciousness that have manifested within the cells of the physical body, and the stage where as you're going through your purification process, you will be guided by source to abstain from sexual interaction. You will be guided from source to actually reclaim, purge, and release all that has sat within your energy field in relation to this. And now, one of the really important things to remind oneself is that this is not about doing the monk lifestyle. It's not about actually rejecting sexuality. It's not about disconnecting from your sexual expression, but it is about purifying it. So if you have not heard me speak into this before, there are stages within our spiritual cycles, and I've broken them up into 5 specific stages where you know that you've completed some and you can create from a new energy. So there's that we are conditioned beings. We have a whole lot of trauma and a sum of experiences that we have moved through life, and then we come into a expression of truth within ourselves, and there's different stages. And the first stage is an activation. So you activate A lot of way showers or light language, they focus on activation. It's a lot of activation, activation, activation. That's one stage. That's one stage of your process. So it's activating something. It's an energy activation, a thought, an experience you activate. Then you go through a clearing, purging, releasing, cleansing process. Then you go into the process of purification or reclamation, reconciliation, calling something back into the field in its purified expression. And then you integrate it, solidify it, become it, it is you. And then you can create from that new expression of what is, because it is you, you are no longer separate from it. And this is a part of the coming into the true self in physical form. There is that cycle. Now we have multiple of those cycles within. Sexuality is just one of these areas. So coming into a purified form of sexual expression and being able to create sexuality and be in the creation of sexual energy from source expression takes some processes. So some of the interesting aspects around sex is that we as spiritual beings, the ones that are on this path, will either attach to it or reject it with everything that comes up in your experience. That is what it is. If you have high chi, if you have high life force energy, often you have some levels of using your chi or your sexual energy in very distorted ways so that you can run it through your body, because you have not been taught from a young age how to run your kundalini energy. Someone with extremely high amounts of chi, if it's not running through their body, they get soul depression, they disconnect from their life force energy, and they become sick. So a lot of priestess energy or conduits, these are physical vessels that come in with the ability to hold high amounts of chi, will go through distortions within their life experience, and they will use their sexual energy in a lens that reflects their trauma, in a lens that reflects their inability to move this energy in the way that it was gifted to them in their physical form, because this society currently does not support a child running kundalini energy. That, one, will bring up a whole lot of distortions in your field straight away. A child running kundalini energy creates many, many, many thought forms to be activated and go, oh, but children shouldn't be having sexual energy running through them. Children shouldn't be doing X, Y, and Z with themselves. Children are pure kundalini. They are pure life force energy until they meet their life experience and they fragment. And so a child is pure chi. A child is pure kundalini. If we didn't have our human distorted lens on top of that, then a child would be able to learn to be in their unique orgasmic expression of life. Yes, I'm going to trigger many, many, many aspects of your psyche today. And it will be fun and glorious. Because the idea that we have as a concept of what is orgasmic, we instantaneously go to a sexual orgasm within that of which we have experienced in this lifetime. We do not look at orgasmic in the energetic expression of what it is, which is, if you feel into the energy of orgasmic, it is an expansion and an expression through joy and bliss. That is the energy signature. It is quite a intensive experience of blasting open and releasing into more of oneself. So that energy signature in itself is going to create some interesting thought forms to come up and some different ideas that will come up in the questions that I'm sure will come through. I know we are at a time of day that most people are off doing X, Y, and Z. So when we start to understand that chi, kundalini, is life force, it is not sexual, we start to see that our distortions around sexuality and sexual expression and sexual alchemy are also extremely distorted. We have these ideas that when we connect into our sexuality and we want to create divine union and have an experience of merging, that has to be physical. In ancient Egypt, that is not how it was done. In ancient Egypt, when you had a sexual alchemy process, there was two beings that sat in front of each other in a form of either meditation pose or standing in presence, where their foreheads would touch each other, and they would run the Kundalini energy through the representation of the Ankh in and through the body in a way that creates a moment of merging two beings into oneness with God. That is what sexual alchemy is in its purest form. It is orgasmic. It is beautiful. It is something that can be experienced with any being, including any nature aspects. You could do this with a tree. You could put yourself in such an experience of receiving that level of alchemy in oneness that you have an orgasmic expansion in a moment of being turned on by a tree. Because being turned on, listen to the words, right? The words that I'm bringing up are words that have been grabbed by society, by conditioning, and manipulated. That is why there is so much confusion. Being turned on is turning your channel on so that it is in full flow with life force energy, and it is a current moving through you. So as you start your process of being turned on, okay, maybe you've had a Kundalini awakening, maybe you have started to intentionally move through the purification process. So there are 7 stages that are broken up into those: activate, clear, purify, solidify, create. And they are moving, and we're not even going to go into the further levels of evolution of this, because majority of human beings are not even close to halfway through their purification phase, and it may take some lifetimes. But for the beings that are here listening to this, you have an opportunity, because you are being educated, to choose this lifetime and complete it with education, with the awareness that you can do things in a linear way when you have the awareness of what is truly going on within your being and your body. And so the purification is of the vessel. When we abstain from sex, when this part of the journey comes up, it's because we've activated our root chakra. We have started the clearing process, and when you're clearing from your root, which comes after the sacral, so the sacral chakra will go through its completion. As it completes, it activates the root chakra, and when that happens, this they can simultaneously be moving through all things. Really, we are not separate. We are all in one channel, and we're moving through all aspects of clearing our body simultaneously. But when that root chakra goes into its clearing process, your body will be saying, do not put anything inside me, or do not use me. So that clearing of that root chakra, you are clearing your sexual traumas, you are clearing from your body any terror, any aspects of torture, any death, any decay. Satanic consciousness, demonic consciousness sits in the root chakra. It is your festering space of hell, right? So if we look at the fact that we've all been having sex from a lens of Satan and hell, might give you a little bit of a concept of how distorted our views on sexuality are, and how satanic most of our sexual experiences have been, without even realizing, without even knowing, and not judging it. It's just an awareness. It is a truth that when you start to have a purified expression, you realize that the sex that you've had has been from a place of separation. And that's why there's desensitization, that's why there's specific expressions of force or intensity that is required to feel. It is a lot of the time your body is actually orgasming as a default to eject from the experience, and different ways of safety being, it's fascinating. The body will express so many different ways in your sexual experiences that will show you exactly what traumas you have, and will show you exactly what aspects of your being are playing out through your sexual interactions, including fantasies. And that brings up a lot for people, because the root chakra holds all of these distortions. It will hold any times that you have opened your body when your body's actually being closed, and so you force a contraction into your field. Anytime that you've had you've used your body as a form of manipulation, anytime that you have had sex in a way that causes a disassociation to defect into pleasure to avoid pain. So there'll be entanglements there that sit within the cells and the molecules. And what that looks like is you have pockets of consciousness that are deactivated and dense. They don't receive any light. They are dark matter patches. And if you can imagine, there's all these dark matter patches of consciousness that sit within your genitalia, within your groin, within your thighs, your pelvis. Every single being that I have ever done a physical healing on or an energetic healing on has this. There's no one that I know that does not have satanic or demonic consciousness within their vessel. Because one, you've been born into a vessel that is from ancestral memory, gone through the sum of experiences of our human interpretation, which means that your ancestors have been raped, your ancestors have been the pedophiles, your ancestors have been the ones that have received black magic or been in satanic ritual. It doesn't matter if that's in your life now. If you've experienced it, you're still holding it. You're still carrying it because you're in this physical matter. So the consciousness sits there, and then it's already sitting there within the vessel, in which we have to then purify through our own experience. But because it's there, every time that for a woman, every time a man has had a crude comment around you and you've contracted, every time that you have opened yourself to your partner in a sexual experience and haven't actually desired to have sex because you're doing it out of expectation or some distorted narrative of love, you are actually having a sexual experience from a point of separation, which creates more and more fragmentation to your root chakra and to your entire being. And so this continues over and over and over to attach to the ancestral memory, to attach to any past life experience. And so this part of your body, when it starts to move through, is dense. It's the densest point, right? I mean, yes, we can go into our Earth Star chakra and we can go further down into descended consciousness, but from a human lens, we are in the densest point of our separation from source in physical matter and physical interpretation. And so what happens is this awareness that when you're cleansing, when you're clearing this part of your body, and while you're trying to purify your sexual expression, you're trying to pure your foundation of who you are as a being, and you have sex with beings that are not purifying their vessel, and most of the individuals that are going through purification are not hanging out with purified sexual counterparts. So that's another big awareness, is that often the person that is going through the purification is attracting their opposite counterpart in a polarity, and they are showing you the aspect within yourself that is to be witnessed. So if you're going through this process of clearing your root chakra and you're wanting to have true, pure sexual experience and alchemy and connect with divinity, you're probably attracting many satanic counterpart energies that are going to bring up the triggers for you to cleanse away. Now, the natural piece and the most supportive thing to do for the body while you're going through this purification process of this stage is to abstain, because there is a few things. Now, we talk about it when it comes to when you have sex, you actually take on their codes, you take on their DNA, you take on their trauma, you take on their energy system, because most of us have not learned how to channel energy in a sexual experience, that we don't take on anything. Now, any point in time that you've ever contracted during sexual energy, you've grabbed energy from someone else. So that contraction, you're actually pulling their energy into your field, you've locked it in place into your own cells, atoms, and molecules. And so if you've had an experience like me in my life, and I have no shame in saying this because this is a part of my story, I have had, I'm sure my higher self actually knows this. Wow, that's an accurate number. Ooh, I don't know if I actually, I'm saying it out loud. Apparently, I've had around 187 sexual counterpart beings. So, in which I know that I have had a lot of sexual, in the early part of my life. I was molested as a child, I was raped, I then went into this experience of trying to find love through sexuality and through promiscuous behavior. And I experienced, I was distracted through pleasure and pain, and through the entanglements and the distortions of sexuality and love. And so this created a very manipulated and fucked up psyche, because I didn't know what was, because they were so entangled and so manipulated. So if we look at what I went through as I purified my vessel, and I'm using this for teaching's sake, right? I wouldn't expose myself in that way for any other reason, is that I, as a child, had that fragmentation. Then I had violations on my body, and then I used my own psyche in a way to manipulate myself further, and the layers that are there. If you look at it from this point of every time that you have sex with someone and you contract, so most of those experiences I would have been contracted, majority, I have held on to their life force, their trauma, their belief systems, and I have taken on their stuff. So that is held within my cells, within my vessel, within my DNA. There is no other way unless I was in my pure channel. And if you have distorted belief systems, so because I am a high priestess and I ran so many rituals in this way of expressing through past timelines, I had contracts around being a channel for God in a form of sexual expression to heal people. So you look at a contract like that, and then you have an unconscious person that's going around and having sex to find their own healing, you get an enmeshment that is so beyond the psyche's ability to look at it in one layer. You have layer upon layer upon layer upon layer upon layer to release and cleanse and purify. But from the physical body, that was a lot of physical purging. That was a lot of physical releasing. That was if I had to put anything inside of my body, I would have just been going against what my body was trying to let go of and release. So that is why the abstinence is asked for when we're moving through this chakra, is because you're actually releasing not only your own trauma, but you are releasing every aspect of DNA and energetic signature that you've held from any sexual experience, including past lifetimes and the soul fragments you hold there. So this is a huge time for people. There are so many. So in our collective currently, we've gone through a major sacral chakra activation, clearing, and purification. Most of the bringers of change, most of you that are listening to this, will be either in the clearing, the purifying, or the finalization of your sacral. You will be at the 4th stage of your Baraka process. Remembering there are 7 stages. So the 4th stage. And you may be going into your 5th, which is your root chakra. And this is what's in our fucking life, in our collective at the moment, is the root chakra. This is what you are seeing with the war. This is what you are seeing with the pedophilia. This is what you are seeing with the extreme narcissism. This is what you're seeing with the attacks on the psychic attack. This is like in our world, and it's in our being. And so if you are experiencing these awarenesses of subconscious and repressed memory starting to come up, that's because the repressed memory that comes up in the root chakra, which is around your sexual expressions of Satanism, really, which is separation, the separation consciousness, furthest point from source. So if we look at the physical body, crown, we'll say the highest point, root chakra, lowest point. That is your furthest point of separation, which means that you are going to start to see these aspects within your external and your internal, and all of those parts of your memory that have been suppressed are going to start to come up. That is not fun. You can look at it through the eyes of God, but it is hectic. It's like literally Iron Maiden. Like, there is no ifs, twos, buts about it. There is no possible way that you can sugarcoat what is taking place. It is the truth, and it is here for us to see so that we can choose something different, because we must meet those shadow aspects within ourselves, within our being, to come into the purified expression of them. So one of the interesting things around this, because you have so many people that have just gone through their sacral, right? So your sacral is all about like being empowered, and you like reclaim your potency, and it's your sexual expression, it's your chi. So when people start to go through their sacral, they're like in a lot of embodiment, there's like a lot of like desire, there's a lot of potency gifted out to the world. You kind of like want to fuck. That's kind of the truth. You want to be in that because that's what's moving through you, and you want to create, you want to flow, you want to be in expression. And then you go into the flip, almost. Basically, it's like you're in all of that, you're moving through that, and then you go into the flip, which is how polarity and human evolution works until we find the center point as we go. So you're all sexualized, you're all in your creative juices, you might have been playing with sexual alchemy, kundalini. This is your dark feminine energy, guys. You're not meant to stay there. You're not meant to stay there. So you go into the root, and this is where the light, so it's like sacral is kind of like your red tantra while you're going through that process, and your root then becomes this white tantric expression where you come into the divine connection of reclaiming your temple, reclaiming the foundation that holds your spirit. And because you've been through the sacral, where you're getting codes and you're receiving through sound and you're playing with energy and you're accessing realms that you haven't known existed before, what happens is there's these thought forms that were there from when you were moving through your sacral, that to gift and receive codes, you do it through physicality, because there is an idea that I have to touch you to give you my energy, that I have to touch you to give you my experience. And so what happens is we have these interactions come up, and we have these draws to people, and there are people that will come into our experience, and there's a magnetism, or there's a desire, or there's a connection, and we see it from our human lens, which is, I'm drawn and magnetized to you, and I am in this desire of sexuality for you, but I am not seeing the full picture of what you're actually showing me, which is a mirror to myself that requires to be witnessed, seen, transmuted, and reclaimed into the full capacity of that which I am. I am only sexually attracted to you, sexual magnetism, because you are showing me an unmet part of myself. And so this drawing that comes up will start to show you the aspects where you've decided to confuse it in the human lens. Now, it's not saying, so when you have someone come into your life experience and you're magnetized to them, they've got shit for you. They've got activations, they've got codes, they've got frequencies, they've got remembrance. All of that is there. Yet, all of that is there. We do not have to exchange it in any physical form. We don't even have to have a conversation with the human being that has codes to you. You just have to recognize and witness and go into a place where you actually go, oh, I'm going to communicate to their higher self, because this person may not be receptive. They may be completely rejecting their multidimensionality. They may have resistance to who I be. So how can I receive the coding, the information, and the remembrance from this person, reconcile my karma, or whatever it is that's coming up in my awareness, and see it from truth rather than the human 3D lens, which is I'm magnetized to you and what's here for me, and play it out, which is what majority of humans are doing, is we're playing out our karmic history. And that's fun because you just keep going on the spiral loop, right? Because you're missing a lot of the time the aspect that is drawing you back into this connection in the first place. So this sharing of codes is a point where you can tune in and go, am I actually, would this be of contribution to me and my body to be sexual with this being? If I knew that there was an exchange and I was willing to be open to what that exchange actually is. If I was willing to see in totality why I'm magnetized to this being, would there be a sexual connection? And if you're moving through root chakra clearing, you may find multiple expressions where there are aspects of trauma to come up to be witnessed. And that's why the magnetism is there. It's actually not a clean, clear, and pure expression of sexuality at all. And this is 3D polarization, right? That's what it is. That's why the most toxic relationships of your life have also been the most sexually activated, because that's polarity. It's like you've got a light, a dark, and they're going and that polarization is to gift the bits that we are yet to find within ourselves, which brings wholeness even in our lens of separation. Now, the other aspect around the sex piece is that you might have contracts in relation to healing, to reminding, to the energy of chi or source, or you might have a mission directive with someone. You might be there specifically to guide someone into something, as well as always remembering it is an exchange. It is not a one-way street. And your human lens feels that magnetism of the contract that's coming up to be seen. And instead of seeing it as contract, you're like, oh, this must be a romantic connection. Now, I have played this one out, inside out, upside down. Which is fine, because I did that when I was activating my priestess. I did not realize that I had contracts to initiate men into their kundalini, into their power, and into their sacral chakra expression. And so from my limited human lens at that time, I was doing it through body work. I was doing kundalini body work massage. I was doing it from as much purity as I could, which was a clear channel to create a divine connection to God, Source, Creator, through the vessel, to clear and purify the vessel through a yummy, delicious experience. But I was also very unconsciously in my personal life attracting men that should have been clients. And instead of seeing that the exchange in clarity from a place of contracted perspective of what is my soul telling me about this person, what is really here, what is the energy that is present. So each individual being is the magnetism that is there is because you are showing each other an energetic signature that is intense within your experience. It will always be the same, not separate, the same. This is where divine mirroring comes in. So it's like your, I remember when I met a individual during an experience of, and I was so attracted, and I actually ran a breath work kundalini activation with this being, and I was intensely, it was really hard for me to facilitate because the energy was being moved through the entire field, but our souls remembered each other, and so the intensity of that energy without the human awareness was overwhelming. And my wounding at the time was that I had yet to meet security and protection within myself. I was still running from a desire to have outside protection. And that was because I had unmet wounding in my root chakra where I did not feel fucking safe in the world. No, did not feel safe. And so I attracted a being that represented to me protection, not only in his stature, in his energy as a dark masculine, in his ability to hold frequency. So there was multiple layers plus past life remembrance that he held as his archetypes were a warrior. His archetypal energy he had as a priest, so he had strong sexual energy as well. There was so much there that was showing me directly what I required to activate and find within myself to meet these wounds. And as there was a limited ability to see it from the eyes of truth, it played out. And so the very thing that I desired, which was the protection that he mirrored to me, was triggered in a full lack of feeling safe. So that's what happens when we play it out in our sexual experiences, is the intimate relationships that we bring into our life are the purification, because we're not guided toward this information. We don't have this at our reach to go, oh, right, well, that makes a lot of sense. If only I had have known. Because it's been suppressed over and over and over, and it continues to be suppressed and manipulated through distorted channels and through distorted lenses of spirituality. And so when you are able to go, okay, if I look at the full awareness as to the attraction to this counterpart and what they're showing me within myself, had I have seen that individual as, oh, okay, I actually just want this person to be my protection because I'm not meeting my own dark masculine, which is what it was. I wasn't meeting dark masculine because to me, at that point, my psyche was dark masculine energy is wrong. It is so wrong. I won't go near it. That's what narcissists are. That's what pedophiles are. That's what this is. And I was unable to, I had literally unplugged myself from every little piece of dark masculine within me, which meant I didn't have protection energy within me. I did not have the ability to hold the code or the frequency of protection, of foundation, of strength, of stability. And this is where my dragon coding came in, right? Because the dragon codes are very strong in a purified expression of dark masculine, that when you integrate it, there is no division, but they have dark masculine warrior, dragon warrior energy. And so that, had I have seen and inquired a little deeper as to why I was attracted to this being, to sit with what is really at play, I would not have chosen that experience because I only traumatized myself, and that being also went through their own trauma process because they also were moving through energy around protection from the different viewpoint, right? There was a different lens within that person and that experience. So this is where we can look at, all right, so as you're going through the purification, one, talk to your vessel. Is it really true for me to be having sex? And if it is, then what kind of being is a contribution to my body? What do I need to be aware of? Knowing, one, that I will take on their trauma, their cells, their DNA, their energy. That will become my reality anytime that I contract and step out of pure channel of Kundalini. So if you don't know sexual alchemy, then you're contracting, which means you're taking it all on. So with that awareness, is it true for me? Or do I need to be fully aware that actually I don't want to add additional shit to myself because I want to cleanse, clear, and purify this, and it's best for me to actually choose to honor myself, honor my body, and purify and crystalline what has taken place. Then you will go through the awareness of the purification process. So when the clearing takes place, then you reclaim your purified expression. And this is where 5D sexuality and 3D sexuality is extremely different, completely different to the way that we would perceive it. Is that 3D sexuality is that you're having physical interaction, you're getting physically stimulated, you are in all of the senses of the 5 senses mostly in a 3D experience, and you have an idea based on porn and distortion and severance of the energy within the self of what that looks like, what that experience is. And then when you come into the 5D, we'll call it, or a more evolved expression of sexuality and sexual energy through the vessel, there is an awareness that you can be divinely connected to Source in physical touch, in intimacy. And the intimacy connection no longer has a goal. There's no longer a need to orgasm. There's no longer a need to be physically penetrated. There's no longer a need to be touching the other person, but to be in that energy with another being is just as expansive, enlightening, and divine and transcendent. You can sit on your partner and hold them and go into a state of transcendent bliss, because the purified sexual expression is creation. Creation energy is sexuality. That is it. So you can create in the fullest creation with another being in any form, in any way, if you're open to that. And that takes some time, and then once you clear these beliefs, you reclaim. You're like, okay, I'm reclaiming my temple, and nothing outside of divinity is coming into my temple. That will be one thing. You will start to want to use your creative energy and your sexual energy in ways that you haven't used it before. So you get divinely inspired, and you want to gift more to the world. You want to receive more from the world, because you have this moving through you. And then your idea, so sex for me, I don't use that word, I used it for attention's sake. Yeah. It's not something that resonates at the frequency of that which I be in this now moment. I do not see it in any way the way that I did on the other end. And at this point in my evolution, yes, my body in its truth desires intimacy, it desires touch, it desires connection. That is a part of the human experience, yet it is also not necessary, right? So it's a belief. It is one of those aspects that as human beings we have specific needs. That isn't even real. We don't even need food. There are people that live off the sun's energy. Do we really need shelter? Do we really need these aspects of what we say we need? Or are they the programs that have been created as our base human concepts of what that is? Now, so when it comes to the procreation that we are transitioning into, and this will take some time for the physical vessel to transition into a energetic representation of the crystalline body in a 5D vessel, which is predicted to be about 275 years from here. So most of us are not going to be alive to experience a 5D vessel. That shift changes the genitalia. The genitalia will change its formation. We will become taller. We will express our beingness in a different way, that we are shifting. So we're still in these 3D bodies, but we are coming in from a higher consciousness in the 3D. And so there's this fogginess and merging of, okay, well, what is sexuality for me? Because at the moment, there are not many 5D beings that are able to be alchemized with me. So what does my body require? What does my consciousness require? What is my current truth? Is it the truth? No. Is it my current truth is that at this point of my evolution, I desire physical touch. At this point of my evolution, do I need physical sexual penetration? No. So there has been a shift out of intimacy and connection. Intimacy, connection of chi in a different form of receiving at a higher perspective of consciousness in physical form. So for this to be looked at, it's yes, there is a level of transcending sexuality. And if I was, it becomes choice then, right? When you clear it and when you have moved through this process, everything becomes choice. It's just a human choice of, do I want to experience this? Now that I have no attachment or resistance to it, do I want to experience it? So do I still want to experience sex? Yes. Is it done in a completely different way? Yes. I desire to experience sex with other purified beings. I desire to experience a level of sexual alchemy that is beyond what majority of the human population have even a slight inclination of what that would be. I desire to have two open channels coming together in a physical manifested experience of merging with God in physical form. Until that can take place, my awareness is that I don't desire to be in a situation where my body could still contract to another person's energy, because it would require so much discipline, so much focus to stay in the full current of Kundalini with someone who is not purified. And that level of one, if I did contract, knowing that I've taken on their stuff and that I have onboarded their ancestral trauma and their DNA cells and all of those other aspects, and that I'm probably playing out a contract that I didn't even realize I was playing out of, and I haven't looked at the full expression of what is taking place. So then I have the opportunity afterwards, if I'm aware of it, to cleanse, clear, and purify my body. I don't actually have to choose to hold on to their DNA. I don't have to choose to hold on to anything that has been exchanged in that sexual experience. I can, if I have the awareness of how to clear my trinity of what I just took on at any point in time, in any way, at any level of evolution. It's I return all soul fragments that I chose to take on in my being. I choose to only hold source, God, creator, light. Anywhere that I have held this person's pain, I now release. I release all DNA mimicking and distortions to my cells that have taken place. There are so many different things that can be done by listening to the body after an experience, listening to the body after, the same with contraception. We don't need contraception. We don't even need to look at our cycle. All we need to do is talk to our body, talk to our womb. If there was an ejaculation that took place within my womb space, I would talk to my womb and to my cells and say, I do not desire to choose a physical form of pregnancy. I would like to release this chi and transmute it into a new form of creation that is in alignment with my highest good as a being. Now, that would mean cleansing, clearing, and purifying my womb space of anywhere that it has attached, or using the waters of Christ. They're signatures. These are energy signatures. They are just frequency and vibration moving, no different to the physical. The physical is just a denser way. So if you start to have that awareness, then when you're moving through this, it's not like, oh shit, I contracted, now I've got all this stuff. No, it's an opportunity for you to talk to your body and to start to commune with the God being that you are, and come into more empowerment of these contracted moments, more empowerment to reclaim all of that which you are. It's a redirection further into yourself every single time. I'm going to open up the questions around for anyone who's on around sex, intimacy, all the things. I do want to talk a little bit about the body's responses, because it's pretty challenging for the human lens. When you start to go through this purification process, you can have a lot of weird activation feelings within the anus, within you can prolapse your bladder. Your bowels can start to prolapse. There can be a density that is like falling out of your body because your body's literally trying to purge, which can bring up fears around health. Not saying to not get things checked out, but majority of the time when you go and get something checked out, they will say that there's no untoward symptoms. There is also the aspect that you may have issues with your flora, or you might have erectile dysfunction. You may have awarenesses that your body is actually telling you no by creating discord, so you can't reject it. So things like urinary tract infections. You might end up having a bacterial infection, because when that is there, it's your body saying, I'm clearing, I'm cleansing, I'm transmuting. Don't put shit inside of me. Don't put your shit inside of something else, right? And that's literally with men, it will come up that they can't actually get hard because their body is trying to purify the sexual distortion and the trauma that sits within their lower chakra systems. And they're when they are getting activated, it's an opportunity to say, where is the distortion to the activation of the magnetism of the polarity? So there is a lot that happens. There is a lot of physical representations. You're a multi-dimensional being having a human experience. There is multi-dimensional layers taking place at all times. It's just whether or not you can see it. So any questions, quickly posting them there now. Otherwise, is there anything else? Yes. What are we talking about? What is it? Distorted lens of hang on. This is a word I don't know if I know. Ah. Okay, so they do want me to talk about the distorted lens of sexual reproduction in the 5D experience when we transition, because it is affecting some of those that are going through the crystalline upgrades, which start on the internal aspect of the cellular memory. And so what's happening for some, like myself, that my womb is coming into a crystalline expression from the inside out, in where it is purging the organic matter of the 3D body, and it is shifting into a expression that it can hold a higher frequency of matter that is perceived and received differently. So my internal structures are shifting first at a cellular level, and what is taking place for me in that way is that I am going through a process where my I would say I go into early pre-menopause. I am currently not fertile. Okay, so I know that I don't have the ability to have a normal pregnancy. I would not be able to have a child in the way of someone just entering my body and ejaculating and falling pregnant. That would not happen. And my body would reject it anyway if it did, because there is not the right energetic signature or structure. All right, we're gonna have to finish because I have a visitor. Love you. Hey.
Hi, I'm Jason on behalf of Kylene.
Yes.
Of Barbies for the niece and the granddaughter, and some other toys for the grandboys. Thank you very much. Kids will absolutely appreciate that. Seeing the outcomes and the details and thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Oh, well, actually, look, if you're still there and you're still watching, it didn't disappear. Okay, so where were we at? We were at the point of the cells shift, and these cells go into an experience of matter in a different vibratory frequency, which means that as we shift from this organic expression into a crystalline expression of form, that the way that reproduction is different. Now, you don't perceive or see in the fifth to the ninth dimension beings having physical life through their body. That's not how it is. They don't do physical impregnation. There is there is ways to create life through energetic expression in ways that we are so limited within our human understanding to perceive, because we can create through intention, through manifestation of thought, through frequency and vibration. Now, if you imagine two beings that are choosing to come into a creation point of intention to create anything, but specifically we'll talk about reproduction or creating other life forms, is that 5D expression of creating life is the separation of oneself. That's like stepping into your creator being energy. That is how most of us have been created. We've been created from other creator beings at our spirit essence level. I am the daughter of Yeshua's spirit essence, not in the physical form. I wouldn't say I'm his daughter, but his essence split and created myself and many, many other beings, which is where the Christ codes are held within my energetic representation, and then I go off and have a created life experience, which gives me my unique vibrational resonance and frequency based on my sum of experience, evolution, and information. That is the level of creation up in the unity consciousness field, because all they have to do is split. It's like super easy. You don't need the power of thought or intention. It just is. It's just something that happens so quickly, and so there is no words to a human that makes sense as to this. So when it comes into the 5D, that reproduction, yes, there is a level of physicality in a 5D expression. There's a level of physicality of coming together and bringing alchemy or creation chi energy together. There is a level of exchanging to bring in creation or reproduction of life force into a physical manifestation, but it is not how we perceive it. And one of the challenging things that has been received is what will happen over time, and this is going to be really interesting if this, for some beings, especially for men, I feel like it totally triggers their human, is that the genitals will be shortened. The cavity and the womb space is going to start to change. There is going to be less of an opening per se in the physical body, because that will change structure, and it takes time to evolve a race. Is there anything else? No, you just wanted me to say that. Why? To trigger and activate. Okay, of course. So if there's no questions, then I am super, 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 super grateful to be here and to express that which I know, that which I have experienced, that which I have remembered, that which is guided through me to you in this transmission. If you have any questions directly around the Baraka process, the root chakra, or if you need assistance in intentionally clearing activating, clearing, purifying, integrating, and solidifying into creation, into a new form of expression within your being, because you are going through it blindsided, please reach out. I only work with people individually on resonance with God's Source Creator's directive, currently at this point in time. And I also do different transmissions, clearings, activations, quantum healing work that you can move through some of this stuff. Not some of it. You can clear and release from a part of your body a mass amount of distortion through a quantum experience like this, because I have already physically journeyed it. I have physically remember it, and therefore it takes me moments to realign something that took me weeks, months, years. I love you. Have an amazing, amazing Tuesday.